Now, for more on the House Task Force investigation into the assassination attempts of former President Trump, let's bring in Florida Republican Congresswoman and member of that task force, Laurel. Congresswoman, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So there's been a lot of discussion about Secret Service needing more resources. Here's your colleague, a Democrat, Jason Crow, on that issue.
So there's no doubt they need additional resources, but additional funding and resources is not going to solve the problem between now and Election Day. So we need to have a discussion about what needs to happen in the next 45 days, actually sooner than that, to make sure this does not happen again.
Do you agree that that is the most immediate concern?
I do. Representative Crow is absolutely right about that. So we can't just throw money at a problem. We have to have trained and prepared agents who are able to step in and take on that protective detail. The other question, of course, will be, I don't think there's any debate that we need more Secret Service agents on protective detail right now. But part of the question, too, is do those resources exist within the Department of Homeland Security? And is there a way that we can reallocate or shift some of those resources without simply adding to a budget? But right now, the focus needs to be on who can we bring in, what trained agents are out there to elevate the overall security force that's protecting former President Trump and all of their other protectees right now.
What are your expectations looking ahead to this Thursday's House Task Force hearing?
This will be a very important hearing. So we've had a number of briefings and meetings really since the date of the Butler incident. We have been working around the clock, but this will be our first public hearing. And that is so important because we want the American public to access all of the same information and hear all of the same testimony that we are getting to hear. I anticipate that we will hear from law enforcement, people who can really testify about some of those findings that we saw in the Secret Service's internal report about how they worked in advance of the rally to get the zone ready, the communication failures on the day of the event that were clearly catastrophic that led to what we saw happen that day. So I anticipate we're going to hear testimony from people who were there, who were part of that process, who can give us information about how those breakdowns occurred.
The most recent incident occurring a week ago on Sunday in your home state of Florida. Here's the acting Secret Service director on that one.
I'd say based on the information I have right now, I say that situation was managed according to our training. And so in the case of West Palm Beach, based on the information I have now, and again, we will review it, it appears that those agents, those supervisors, made swift decisions and made correct decisions.
What is your assessment, Congresswoman?
Well, the director said something important there, which is based on the information that we have right now. I think there's no question that the agents who were immediately surrounding President Trump that day acted swiftly and decisively and averted what could have been a far worse situation. But what we don't know yet is how was this person able to get so close to President Trump? How was he able to stay there for an extended period of time before the president approached? And any of the background about who he was and what he was doing there. Could this have been prevented? Should the perimeter have been more broad? Those are the very same kind of questions. Now we have a second incident that raises some of the same questions. Congress did act this week, and it is certainly the belief of those of us on the task force that there has to be an increase in resources and agents who are assigned to this protective detail. And one of those things that would be enabled, if that were the case, is expanding the perimeter so that there's a larger area around former President Trump and any of the other protectees who are facing this kind of serious threat environment, so that we can keep them safe and keep people from even getting in the range of being that close to them. That's one of the things that is the most shocking and frightening about these two attempts is that these people were able to get so very close to former President Trump.
Right.
So we want to make sure that there's a plan in place and Secret Service is prepared to keep that from happening again.
We're nearly out of time, but in addition to your congressional probe, Florida officials are also doing their own investigation. Is that wise in your view?
Well, there is, in fact, a state court, a state crime here. And so this is also the case in Butler. There's a parallel state police investigation of the crimes that occurred in Butler. So I think ultimate responsibility for oversight of the Secret Service and that process belongs to Congress. But there is a role for our state officials to make sure that any state crimes are being investigated and prosecuted as well. So we look forward to collaborating with them.
Congressman Laurel of the great state of Florida, great to have you. We will follow it all this week.